right? Okay, so Microsoft Class Notebook is pretty much free for us because we have Office 365 in our district. So I'm going to share my screen so that I can guide you through the process. It's up to you if you want to follow along with me, or you just want to jot down some notes or just listen in, then that I will leave that up to you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll be sharing my desktop number 2. So you can see here my screen, right? And right here, I'm logged in my.episd.org. So there are different ways for you to access your Office 365 where your Microsoft Class Notebook is. Through my.episd.org, once you enter your EPISD credentials, you go into Office 365, log in, and when you log in, it will ask you to, well, since I'm already logged in, I'm not, it's probably going to ask you for your username and password again, your EPISD credentials. So if it's already saved, then the system or your browser will provide that information for you, and if it's correct, you just follow through the steps. So you can see here, there is a class notebook. It's one of the free tools that we have available in Office 365. Class notebook is very much related to OneNote. OneNote is more of an individualized notebook. So if you just want to have a notebook for yourself that is digital, you can use OneNote, which is very much different, which is very much the same with Class Notebook. The only difference with Class Notebook is that you add people's names via their EPISD email in the Class Notebook. So Albert, if you don't mind me asking, what grade level and content do you teach?
4th grade.
Okay, 4th grade. So for 4th grade, I know they don't have a one-to-one device, but with their iPad, if they have access to Office 365, which I hope they do, I know it had been problematic as well, our iPads, some of them, not all, but once they're able to log in, they can access their class notebook, which you will create as a teacher, and you can release that to the students. So each one of them, you'll be able to see their individual notebooks in one class notebook. So you're the holder, you're the host, you're the teacher of that notebook, but you can see all of your kids' digital notebooks. So they can.
Is that where they would complete an assignment?
Yes, so every time they put their assignment in that notebook, whether it's an attached file, an attached picture, an attached link to a video or whatever, they can, and you can see that. So it's like a one-stop shop as well.
Okay.
And Marissa, I know you're null. So even when you're, let's say, training or planning with your teachers, you can also use this as a tool for every teacher to have like a training notebook. So when you release a training, they can go to a PD notebook that you create, and you can share resources that way. You can share training that way.
Okay.
And your teachers as well can also create their own PLC notebook. Okay, that's another way of using a class notebook. One person, whoever will be like the department head for that grade level, can be the person to be the teacher, and that person will create the class notebook and add in all the emails of the fellow teachers in the grade level. Then they can collaborate and do their lesson planning that way. Okay, they can also individually add. Later on, if they forgot to add other people, they can still add more people into that notebook, like your principal, like Ms. Howard, or the AP, or you, so that you can see how they're planning and you can give input that way. Okay. All right. So again, there are a lot of different and creative ways that you can use Class Notebook. Another way for you to log in through Class Notebook will be through ClassLink. So if you have the Launchpad, that class link for EPISD, if you have that, like you can see on my screen, what I have here are like in my tablet or in my phone, all the apps are in categories or in groups. So in my EPISD teacher tools, for example, that's where I entered or placed my Office 365, right? So when I click Office 365, it will go through the process of loading the application. It's going to tie in with my ClassLink one-click my username and password or my EPIC credentials, and I land on the same page, right? So either you go this route, it's going to give you this information. It's going to give you this information, the same look and the same feel. Or if you go to with this route, it will also bring you to the same spot, which is your Office 365. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and click my class notebook. Now, when I click class notebook, I personally downloaded the class notebook app in my computer, and it's gonna look like OneNote, like this one right here. It will have this symbol OneNote because they're one and the same. Okay, I've already mentioned to you what the difference is. So when you create a class notebook, it will start web-based or online, as what you can see here on my screen. And what I'm gonna do is create a class notebook, right? You can also add or remove students from current notebooks that you have, if you have some already, or add or remove teachers if you're collaborating together in a class notebook. You can also manage your notebook. So since I've been training class notebook for quite some time, I do have a lot of different types of notebooks. So you're gonna get to see that. So I'm gonna click create a class notebook. I'm gonna create a notebook just for us. So I'm gonna call this April, today's the 13th, 2020, Microsoft class notebook training for student digital, interactive digital notebook. Okay, and I'm gonna click next. So you can see here, Microsoft will guide you through the process. So it's gonna say, oh, the notebook is too long. Please try to shorten the name. So I'll just remove this. That was too long. So I'm just gonna put April 13th, and let's see if it will accept it. And it says, look, names can't include any of these characters, like the colon, the ampersand, you know, all of that good stuff. So I have to remove that. It accepts a comma, but it doesn't accept the colon symbol. So I'm gonna click next. So again, it says it's still too long, right? So let me try shortening this, 04, 13, 20. Let me just do it this way. Let's see if it will accept that. There you go. So now it did, right? Now once it accepts the name, then you're gonna have a notebook overview. So this means it's telling you what will you expect to see in your notebook. You're gonna have a collaboration space. So pretty much the collaboration space, all your kids can work in different pages in the collaboration space. That's pretty cool because if you're doing, let's say, breakout sessions or you're doing group work, you can have them work in different spaces, okay? So you can do that. Or if you just want everybody to collaborate in one page, and I'll show you that later, you can do that as well. So when you're live, you're doing, for example, a video conference and you just want to see how they're thinking, how they're doing, you can do that in the notebook. Okay, because the notebook also, aside from being able to enter text, add files, they can also use their finger on the trackpad or on the iPad to draw. Okay, and that's what I love about the use of the iPad with the notebook, because it's more intuitive because you're actually touching the screen and be able to draw. Now, content library, this one is just for you as teachers or as the owners of the notebook. This is the place where I'm just going to give an example. Marissa, you can house all your resources, and what the teachers can do is copy the resource and paste it on their own notebook, or download it and paste it into their notebook. The same with the kids. If you have worksheets, you don't want the kids to mess the worksheets, but they can, you know, and these are digital worksheets, and you want them to just copy it or download it, then they can do that. And then all they have to do is download it or copy from your content library and place it in their notebook. Okay. Then you will have, after the collaboration space, so you're going to have a welcome spot, and then your content library, collaboration space, content library. Then the next one would be all the student notebooks. So if you have 20 kids in your classroom, then you're going to have 20 student notebooks. Okay. Each student is given a notebook as long as they have an EPISD email. So I'm going to click next. And right here now, I'm going to enter the emails, right? So there you go. So Marissa, do you have any middle initial? M? Okay. So there it is. So you can see here, since we're hooked up with EPISD directory, it's going to find pretty much you guys. Albert, you're just Albert. Do you have an initial, Albert?
No, I don't.
Briones. There it is. All right. So check your email, because then you're going to join me in the notebook. Okay. So I'm going to click next. And now, oh, sorry. I did add a teacher, right? Okay. So I added you as a teacher. I'm going to add you also as students. So you can see, hopefully this will work. Since I'm adding you both, I hope it works though. That it will allow you. So you already are a teacher. So let me make you guys first as students, okay? So let me remove you first as teachers. I'm so sorry. And I'm gonna add you as students. All right, next. There you go. So that you can see it on the student's end, how it looks. Then I'll add you as teacher later on. Now, when you add students, each student will get these generic pages, okay? You can actually edit the names, all right? So you can, instead of handouts, you're gonna put digital worksheets, right? Then their class notes, then homework, or you can name that assignment, right? Right? Quizzes will be in the form of assessments. So you can name them. Once you name them though, you have to make sure these are the names now, because if you have 20 kids, there's no way that you can edit each notebook and change the name. So before you even create the notebook, organize already your thoughts and try to figure out what would be the different sections I would like them to have. Because you can also have this. You can have math, you can have science, and I'm not sure, Albert, if you are self-contained.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I'll just use Albert's example, math, science, in ELAR. And then I'll put another section, I'll call this writing. Okay, all right. I'll make this reading and then writing, right? So now every child will have a section for every subject, and then they can add pages for every subject. So math, this is my interactive notebook. Here are the pages. For science, it's like a big binder, like all those binders in the 80s and 90s. So think of it that way. However, it's just digital, okay? All right, and then you add more. Again, it's better to organize and plan and finalize what sections you want each child to have in their digital notebook before creating it, okay? And then let's say we're complete with what we needed. I'm gonna click next. And now, this is how it's gonna look, right? So you can see here, welcome, there's a collaboration space, your content library, then the names of your kids, right? So it looks like a binder. That's the teacher's notebook. If you want to see the student's notebook, this is how it's going to look. So let's say with Marissa, it gives you a little preview how it's going to look. Now, if you, for example, oh my goodness, I forgot one more, then you can just go back to number 5, which is design private spaces, okay? You can design that, all right? And then let's say we're good with the teacher's notebook. This is me as a teacher, and this is now my students, look, okay? So I'm gonna click create. And now you should get an email there that if you have your email open, it's gonna give you a link to join me in the notebook. So I'm setting up the notebook, just taking a few minutes to populate together. And now we're in this page. It's in number 7, says done, right? So what do we have here? Either we download the class notebook, add in, or open in OneNote. Open in OneNote, if you have the app, it will open the app OneNote. Remember what I told you earlier, that OneNote and class notebook are pretty much one and the same. So the only difference is that you're having a whole class in one notebook. Or you can also open OneNote online. If you want to stay web-based, you can do that, okay? but I want to go and open the link in my OneNote that I have already downloaded in my computer. So I'm going to click OneNote, and you can choose to open OneNote online. So I'm going to, once I click open in OneNote app, I'm going to click again, open Microsoft OneNote. And now wait for it. So you can see my web. And now look, this is my, so just wait for it to open. So this is my department notebook. It's just opening the notebook that I just created. There you go, for today. So here we go. Okay. So now you can see behind my screen, behind this OneNote, where you have Albert's name and Marissa's name, I have the web, my browser still working in the background. Okay. So this is my notebook now. And now as a teacher, I have my welcome page. So if I have my welcome to class notebook, so welcome to our class. Interactive digital notebook. So whatever class this is, for example, 4A, right? And then from here, you can start making changes. So Microsoft will just give you an idea what you can do right from the get-go. So you can add text, you can change colors, right? You can bold your text. You can add pictures. So if you know of a free website, I added that actually in my YouTube channel called Pixabay. So pixabay.com, Pixabay.com. So let me add that. I'm gonna add it right here on the top. Pixabay.com. You have some free pictures in there or images. So I can make the font a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. All right. So there are also some headings right here that you can choose from, right, to change the different format of your text, or you can simply clear all formatting in your text. You can also add these different features like, oh, this is a to-do, or this is important, this is a question. So they are like reminders or icons to help you distinguish what each item you have. Okay, you can also create tags. So tags are useful if you're trying to look for something. So let's say you put a tag, hashtag math. So when you try to find anything that's hashtag math, all the math resources that you have that tag will show up. Or Microsoft Class Notebook will say, hey, these are all that I found in our notebook that has the hashtag math. Okay. So also you can add links. So you can see here, there are live links in here that Microsoft use as an example. And if you have a Twitter account or a Facebook account, just like what Microsoft has shown here, you can also link it up as an active link. Another good idea is to have frequently asked questions, right, about our class, about teachers' expectations, okay? So you can be very creative. It could be FAQ about class rules or anything under the sun, right? If you want to do an FAQ just for your field trip, what are we supposed to be doing, or about homework, or about learning goals, then you can post that as well. And again, you can see different links in here. And then you can see also here, just again, this is a page. The section is welcome. So similarly on yours, are you in the notebook by any chance, Albert and Marissa?
No.
No? Okay. So if you can, Marissa or Albert, if you can, go dive in there and see what you have or what you can see on your end. Okay. So right here, I'm gonna go next to my collaboration space. So the collaboration space, what's pretty cool about this, you, Marissa and Albert and myself can all work and start typing away in this space right here. And I can keep on adding pages if I want. So let us say this is for April 13, 2020, collaboration with Albert and Marissa, right? On Microsoft Class Notebook. There you go. So from here, you can already start inserting a picture or a file or a printout or a screenshot of something. So So you can, you know, add that as well. Or you can do an audio recording. You can also do an audio recording right now. So if I allow my microphone, I can start doing an audio recording. So if I start recording, right, there it is. It's recording my name. And if I click stop, now that audio, if the students play it, they can hear it. Microphone, I can start doing an audio microphone, right? I can start. So you can hear it, right? So you can even add instructions on your collaboration space. So if you don't want to type your instructions, you want to just tell them what they're going to do. Or if you're reading a book, or you're reading an article, or you're reading a paragraph, or reading a story to the kids, you can use the audio and then they can listen to it, and then they have no way. They can just be careful though, because since it's a collaboration space, yes, they can delete it because they have access to it. Okay, but again, it's pretty cool to have this feature available because you can just tell them, and then they can hear your voice. Okay. All right. So another thing too, so you can see here all your different tools, all the different font that you have available that you can play with, right? You can also bold your text, do some coloring here, highlighting, okay? So there are different features here that you can do. And then also you can add shapes. So if you're doing math, you can discuss. So this is our collaboration space. So if I tell the kids, so what shape is this and how many sides does it have? And what can you create using these shapes? So they can start, you know, building something, right? If you're talking about area, perimeter, and even angles, if you're teaching them angles, so you can do that as well, okay? All right, so you can use all these different tools, and that's just in inserting all these different shapes that you have, okay? You can also do equations. So if I type an equation here, right here, right? So I can do, let's say, 1.5 plus 2.5 equals, right? So from there, I can do that equation. And I think you can also draw more, I would say more sophisticated math equations, especially if you are in the upper grades. And we're talking about
Anything for
algebra.
fractions?
I believe so. I believe you can. Let's try. 1/2 plus 1/2. Let me see. I think I can. There it is. So it solved it, right? It solved it by itself. Yeah. So I think that's the only thing. It's not as pretty as what you're thinking, Albert, in terms of the fraction. So it looks like that. I was hoping it would give me something better than just, you know, typical way of doing of writing it out. So I can make that bigger too. Okay. I can also insert date and time, meeting details, or even stickers. So if you have stickers available, which you can add, if you got trained in Microsoft Teams, these similar stickers show up in our Microsoft Teams meeting. So you can apply the same stickers here. So if you're talking about the planets, you can add that and recreate your own solar system, right? But you have to prepare and create this beforehand so that when you show it to the kids, they'll have like oohs and ahs, right? And they'll be amazed with what you have done because you already have it ready. Or you can have them create it. Let them do it. Let them work together. Say, okay, I want you to think about creating your own solar system. Look it up and put the planets in the right order. Or if they're doing a little research on science and they happen to be assigned to research about Earth, then they can create a collage, they can create a lot of notes here, they can do texts, of course, and start typing what they have researched on, okay? So pretty cool. Another thing you can do, I'm going to create, well, let me close this one right here so we have more space. And you can see here the space, I'm zooming out. So you can see a pretty big space that you have available, right? So you can work around, you can zoom in or you can zoom out. So if I want to start drawing, you do have drawing tools here. So I think the kids will like this a lot, especially for your artists. You have kids who are very creative. They express their answers using drawings. So they can use different ink colors or the thickness of the line of their pencil or their marker or highlighter, right? And of course, they have the eraser. They can have a small eraser all the way to a large eraser. So if I want to draw something, then if let's say I just want to draw the sun, so I can do that, right? So I'm just using the trackpad. It's not the best. I'm just using my finger here on my trackpad, so I really don't have a lot of control. So you can have clouds, right? And kids who are artists, they will love this. And I can draw mountains. So I change the thickness of my pen. And if I want to color it and color the sun yellow, I can do that, right? And I can do also a different color. Hopefully, there you go, blue for the clouds, or I can make it a little bit thicker. So you get the idea, right? You get the idea as to what you can do, okay? So they can draw, and if you want them to draw out their answers, they could. And this is a good way for them, especially for your kids who are artists, to show their creative side. So pretty cool way of doing things. You can also do text here. So if I want to type a text, oops, let me just do that and do this. Did it allow me to? Hello. There you go. So now I can just make, hopefully, the font bigger if it will allow me. Yes, it did. There you go. Okay. So they can describe their drawing. And I'm thinking, Albert, like for writing, as you're teaching your kids writing skills, you know, this would be great. They can draw, they can illustrate as part of their brainstorming what they want to write about, especially if you're giving them writing prompts, and then they can start writing, right? So they can draw it, brainstorm, and then write about it. So it's pretty good if they're, especially if you want them to journal about what they're, how they're feeling, what's going on, especially with our current situation. So that's a very real world base. And if you're doing science, the same thing, which is pretty cool. You can absolutely, you know, have the students, if you yourself as a teacher, you did an experiment and you recorded your experiment, you put it up here in the notebook, then they can write their observations, right? And then maybe recreate that experiment with the guidance, of course, of their parents. Okay. All right. So how are we doing so far, guys? Doing good?
Doing good.
Yes. Albert, how are you doing?
Is this instead of Schoology, or is this?
You can, the beauty about the notebook is that you can add that into Schoology. So Schoology is more of a place where you house your, where you can house your notebook, you post your assignment. But when students submit their assignment, if you want it in one notebook where you have access, all they have to do is go to the notebook that you sent them. Okay, so they don't have to, it actually prevents them from using different types of, like, let's say, if they're using also Seesaw. I don't know if you're familiar, are you familiar with Seesaw, Albert?
Class Dojo more.
Oh, Class Dojo. So their Class Dojo is more of like your communication with the kids, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you communicate to the kids, it's usually kind of like one way because you just tell them, but sometimes they respond back, sometimes they don't. But in the notebook, you can actually see live when they're doing their work. Also, you can do it, you can check every now and then their progress. So just with the notebook, the kids can show you if they're doing the work that you're asking them to do. You can post it on Schoology because you can, that's where they get the instructions, but the notebook will be the place where they actually do the work. So imagine instead of having individual notebooks, they have one notebook that you have control over. Does that make sense?
Yes. Would that just be set up as a link on Schoology?
Yes,
Or,
yes. You can set this up as a link through Schoology, which is a good question. Let me see here. If I'm going to share it, which is right here, there's that button there, share, right? Do you see that where I click? Let me click again. Let me zoom in closer. I wonder if it will let me. Oh, it won't let me because it's a command. Right here in the upper right-hand corner, do you see that? Where it's like an arrow pointing outward. If I click that, I can send anyone with the link can view. So you just want to put that anyone with the link can view, or only people in El Paso ISD can view the link, right? So you can, and don't put allow editing because they're going to start editing your file. The kids will have individual access to their notebooks. That's all they needed. That's all they needed, okay? So you can have anyone with the link can view, or people in El Paso Independent School District with the link can view, okay? So you apply that, and when you post it on your notebook, just make sure your students, they have to sign in Office 365 so that they can start manipulating the link. Because if you check your email right now, for example, I gave you a specific link to the notebook, and then you can access your notebook. Am I correct, Marissa? Did you try
Yes,
it?
it's there. Mhm.
Yeah. This one that I'm showing Albert, it's more of just sharing the link so that you can post it in Schoology, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah, this is just to post it, not to edit your notebook. And you don't want other people editing your notebook because they might grab your notebook, delete it, and that's the last thing you want to do. So Marissa, did you try typing something in here? If you don't mind,
I haven't.
if you just try so that Albert can see it, how it looks. Yeah, just add a page, because right now, if you can see in Marissa's notebook and also yours, Albert, here on my screen, you all have the same subjects. You have math, reading, science, social studies, and writing. So see now, Marissa typed there, right? As a teacher, I can go into her notebook. And if she has a question, I can respond to her question either by typing. So I can say, yes, I can see you, right? Or I can also insert an audio. Remember the audio recording, right? So if a student has a question, Miss Martinez or Miss Dickerson, I have a question about how to add 1/2 and 1/2. And then you can reteach or answer by doing an audio recording right then and there. And they can listen to it, right? And you can even add pictures in there or whatnot. So you can see all the different pages, and Marissa can keep on adding a page. You can see her at the bottom, right? So she can add a page. Can you add a section, Marissa? I'm just curious.
Let's see.
If you have it, can you add a section?
It looks like I can.
You can, but I can't see it on mine. So you can probably, if I refresh, maybe I'll see it. But her page, I can see all the different pages that she's adding in math. Okay, and you can date it. When you added a section, did you add another one right here in one of your notebooks or no?
I put math notes underneath math.
Okay, math. Okay, so maybe I just need to refresh my page, and I'll be able to do that. So class notebook.
It's right on the left-hand side underneath math.
Oh, okay. So let me see. Will it? Because I'm in a live document, so maybe it just needs to be refreshed. It's not updating yet.
Okay.
What you have done on mine, yeah. But if I do this if I do it web-based, I would be able to see it probably faster. But anyway, you have the idea. You can add the different pages, right? And then again, how do you want the kids to add the pages for every subject? Do you want to do it by week, right? So if you want to do it by week, you have to teach them how to do that, so that it's organized that way. Okay. Or do you want them to just do it on their own? Or, just like when you teach them how to cut and paste and put it in their math notebook, think of it similar strategy, but this is just happens to be digital. Okay. So you can do that. So you've seen the collaboration space, right? And Marissa, go ahead and draw something in our collaboration space so Albert can see it too. Because in the collaboration space, you as my students, you can actually manipulate and draw or add on to that space right there.
Can you
Oh,
see
there
it,
it is.
Carla?
Yeah, I see it. See, there it is. So let me zoom in. So now, and I can see who it was. So it gives the three initials of Marissa, her first name, her middle name, and her last name. And she's all three M's. That's pretty cool. So you can see that, right? So all the different kids, if you give them a space in here to collaborate, they can work on it together. So just imagine if you have, and you can delete. You don't have to keep it. So if you have group 1, you can do that. Group 2, right? A collaboration space, you don't always have to save all their work, right? That's up to you as a teacher. Group 4, right? So if you have 4 different groups, you assign 4 kids for every group, for example, then they can start collaborating, okay? They start collaborating in that space. So then for us, this is what you see, okay? Now for the content library, so what is the content library? It is pretty much what kids, like what I said earlier, you can add files here. So if I want to insert a file, for example, I want to share with you guys this picture of an old computer. If I can insert that as an attachment, and now there it is. So go ahead and copy that, Marissa. Try copying that and pasting it in your math notebook, for example.
Okay, let's see. We were in using.
I'm under content library in using the content library. Can you copy? Right click and copy.
I'm not even seeing the picture of the.
I wonder if it just takes time. Or can you copy this one, the filing cabinet, if the computer is not showing up yet?
Refresh the page. Let's see.
Yes. Oops. There it is. Yeah, it's saving, it's syncing. See, mine says it's syncing right now.
Okay. Let's see. No, I still don't get the picture of the, but let me see if I can copy.
Yeah, if you can copy the filing cabinet and put it in your math notebook.
Okay.
Did you paste it here?
I went ahead and put it in.
Okay, let me sync. There it is. So there's the paper. I mean, there's the image, right? So anything you share with them, whether it's a file, a picture, they can copy, but they cannot delete it, right? Okay. So they can copy. So talk about if you're doing math stations or you're doing reading stations and there's an activity that they need to work on, then you can plug in, drop in all the different stuff in there. But I would recommend again, right? You add, this is for our math, right? Organize it. This is for my reading. So again, think about how you're going to organize this so it makes sense, right? So I have my science, and I'm all adding under content library. Social studies, right? And then my writing. There you go. I'm going to just, and you can drag, you can see I'm moving around my different subjects, so you can do that, right? So anything that you want for kids to download, you can, okay? And I know in my content library as a teacher, right here under content library, I can add a section. So if I add a section, I can also do it this way, math, for example. That's better. You know what I'm saying? Reading. writing. So it's clearer,
Yeah.
right? Science, and then social studies. And I think you can do this also on your own, right? On your own at your
Yes.
end.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. So you can change the colors also of your tabs. So if, let's say, my social studies, I did a right click, I can rename it if I want. I can choose a different color. I can even password protect it if I need to. Okay. All right. You're doing so far. I mean, you're doing good so far, Albert and Marissa.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. So again, now I can see your math notes, Marissa. Look at my screen. Now it showed
Oh,
up.
did it show up finally?
Yeah, it did show up finally. It's just a
Okay.
matter of time of syncing it. So my syncing is that cloud. So it will sync as it, you know, allows it to. So
Okay.
now I can see your notes. You see, I can see your different
Yes.
notebooks. So I can keep track. And then I think it's better if you add a section than putting all the resources here. I like this better,
You
where
hit
I
on this.
added a section. Then I can add for math, let's say just for fractions. I can, so my kids can just go to fractions here, and all activity, digital worksheets that I have for fractions, they can find it there, right? Another one, for example, if I do geometry, right, or shapes, right? Shapes, then they know where they get it, where they're gonna get it. If I wanna do number sense, right? Number sense, then I will put all my digital resources in there. Or if I want to do number sense, multiplication, okay? Anything that has to do with multiplication, I have it there. Or problem, word problems. You still call it word problems or problem solving?
Problem solving.
Okay. There you go. Okay. So now all these different all the wonderful things I already have that I've been using or what I create, I can plug it in here and the students can access it. Okay. And they cannot delete it. They can't delete it. All they can do, like what you did, is copy and put it in their different notebooks.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
This, I like this.
You like this? What about you, Albert? What do you think?
Well, I like the collaboration page. There's nothing similar on Schoology.
Say that again.
There's not a collaboration page on Schoology.
Not that I know of. Schoology
No.
is not. Schoology is more of like just housing things, putting things up there. All the other extra tools that what you're saying about collaboration and all that stuff, you do it in another application like a notebook.
Okay,
Yeah.
and how do you actually do grades?
If you do grades here though, that's the only thing. If you're gonna grade them, you have to put the grades in Schoology, because Schoology has a place there to add the grades. So when you're checking and seeing what they're doing, that's the only thing. There's no grading here in the notebook. It's like you're gonna manually check and then you're gonna apply the grade, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you would just write it down, hard copy, and
Yes,
then
you write it down. Just like when you're doing your actual, when you were in the classroom before and you're manually checking the notebooks, right? Then you also write it down at the side. It's a similar concept. The only thing is you can provide them, you can provide the kids digital notebooks because we have this application for us. Before I forget, I was also gonna let you guys know, like right here, for example, on under view. So for your students who have a hard time reading on their own just because of their reading levels, you have here assistive technology tools like the Immersive Reader. So if I click on Immersive Reader, look what happens. So it's an add-in, and now it's going to read to me this section right here. You see that section right there? So any written instruction or direction that you put in the notebook, students have an immersive reader, and the computer will read it to them. So if I'm just gonna play it so that you can hear it.
If you're an educator, check out OneNote Staff Notebook. Staff notebooks are designed to help an education staff save time.
So you get the idea, right? So students who may be dyslexic or who need that extra help just to help them read the words out to them, that's the Immersive Reader. And that's the wonderful thing about Microsoft tools. They're excellent in their assistive technology tools. It's already embedded. And before, or compared to other programs, those are additional features that you pay extra, right? In Microsoft, it's already in there. They provide that service. So that's really, really neat. And also here in the Immersive Reader, on the text preferences, you can change the background. If purple is not your color, you want a different color that's more soothing for your eye, you can, right? So like mine, black is just too much because the white text hurts my eyes. And white would be good for me. And yellow, not really, but more of a subtle color, like the purple one that I had earlier is good for my eyesight. Okay, so you choose according to how you are comfortable. Because whenever I don't have my eyeglasses, I noticed that I would jumble the words. So I may have an undiagnosed dyslexic issue that I have never been diagnosed when I was little, right? Because every time I read, I've noticed when I was a little girl, I need to have a ruler, and then I'm able to read line by line. And if I don't, I just notice that my eyes, but since I'm older, I've trained myself how to do it. But there were times when the letters were just mixed up and I would skip words as I'm reading, right? So it's just like I'm just scanning through the page, and then I fail or I miss out on the whole meaning of the text, okay? So that was, I had to learn how to cope doing that. And also, you can change the font that would be more suitable for your eyesight, right? So Calibri is good for me because I can see every shape of the letter better. I can also decrease the spacing or increase the spacing, okay? And right here, I can also highlight the nouns. So if I'm a student and I don't know what nouns are, I want the nouns to stand out. So I can review what nouns are by clicking on that nouns on. Or I just want to see verbs. So now the paragraph will show me the verbs because I chose the color red for that. Adjectives, if there are any adjectives in there, or adverbs, right? So, or I can just have labels shown. If I want labels shown, on top of it, you can see my adverbs have the ADV as the shortcut for adverbs, so that it can help me now as an English learner how to distinguish nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So pretty cool. And syllables too. If I have a hard time, syllabicating, proper syllabication of a word because I can't read it fluidly, then I turn on syllables and it will help me read out each section or each syllable of the word. Okay? All right, so just different tools there. And also the line focus. This is what I'm saying. If I want to do a line, look at that. This helps me a lot when I read. And that's with a line or 2-3 lines or that big. When I was a little girl, like what I told you guys, I would read like this, right? Highlight, so I'm not overwhelmed by the other text floating around the paragraph. So I would use a ruler back then and read it. And they can also translate. Look at this. They can translate the language. So let's say I'm an English learner. I want to translate it into Spanish. So let me find Spanish right here. So if I want, not by document, there you go, or by word. If I do by word, I click on the word and then I can choose what it says.
Educador.
So I can have it read out to me. Isn't that cool?
Hecha.
Right? So there you go. But if I want the entire document, then the entire document will be translated into Spanish. Okay? Right? It's all in Spanish. Pretty neat, huh?
A lot of neat features.
Yes, a lot of neat features. That's what I love about Microsoft by itself, their package. They have this available, especially in the notebook.
That's
All
neat.
right. So I can just close this. And now So any instructions that you may have, you can absolutely have that under Immersive Reader. You can also zoom in here to make the text a little bit bigger, or zoom out, right? You can also change the paper color,
Like that.
right? You can also do paper styles if you're doing graphs. Look at that. Isn't that cool?
Like, oh,
as
that's
a
neat.
former 6th grade math teacher, I'm like, yay! I won't have distorted triangles
Uh-huh.
and angles. So this is really neat, right? So you can, and these are, or you can make the graph a little bit bigger if you're teaching younger kids. You can do that as well, right? So, or you can just do lines like a real notebook. So pretty cool. I like that.
That's
Right?
neat.
You don't have to recreate. These are assistive tools already that you have available. And to check accessibility checker, again, this one is just to check your grammar, too much white space, it will tell you, or, you know, or check accessibility checker also for the different notebooks. Okay. So again, just showing you all these different tools that you have available that you can access. So your, again, play around with it, because that's always the thing. You think about, how can I use this in the classroom, right? And even you as a teacher, if you're doing your lessons, if I have had this, a digital notebook, I would have done my lesson plans this way and just shared it with my principal and say, hey, here's my lesson plan. Then I have a digitized version of my work. And I could have kept all the other stuff that I used to do in notebooks, piles and piles of notebooks. I could have kept them and made them digital. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much the end of our session. Do you have any other questions, guys?
No, I just need to practice using it.
Yes. And Albert, feel free to reach out. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. All right, there we go. So yes, just let me know if you need any other help. And later this, well, actually at 11 will be my next session. So again, this is my email address. If you need any help, and Marissa, of course, you know
I know how to get a hold of you.
So please share this information to your teachers, Marissa, okay?
I will.
All throughout this afternoon from 11 to 12, I have another session, and then from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3.
Okay.
And then tomorrow, I'll be focusing on Apple Keynote. So, but it will be digital portfolio. So I showed you digital notebook using Microsoft Class Notebook. The next thing I'm going to show you for tomorrow, if you're interested, would be creating, but this is creation. So it's a little bit different. Yeah, creating a digital portfolio.
Okay.
Okay. So that will be cool for tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll start at 9 o'clock, because 8 o'clock I have a meeting, usually from 8 to 9. So from 9 till 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, and then 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Those are the different sessions for Keynote in helping students create their digital portfolios.
Okay.
Okay, because you can export that as a movie. That's the nice thing about Keynote. So I'll show you guys how to do that. All right. Well, thank you very much for stopping by, and I wish you all the best this week. Okay. We'll see you guys. Thank you. Bye.
We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.